and welcome to another episode of Mechanics Brewery, where I review the various homebrew mechs created by the Lancer fandom. In this field guide to Soldan Special, Efreet, from Horus, by Kaitave. Efreet, or Efreet, is a type of demon in Islamic mythology formed out of smoke and fire that's often associated with the underworld, but sometimes they carry out God's will, which due to their ruthless nature, usually involves a lot of murders. That's the actual mythology version. In Pathfinder, Efreet are a race of complete jackass genies that seek to control and enslave everything with the ability to shift between planes of existence at will, though they usually dwell in the plane of fire, which, as its name implies, is constantly on fire and hostile to flammable life forms like people. Named after the mythology, Efreet is a close-range hacker that isn't bound by the concept of distance, and you will always find it closer than it appears. Looking at its stats, Efreet has good health, 1 armor, slightly low evasion and good E-defense. It's decently fast at its size, has a decent heat cap and repair cap, but its sensor range is rather short despite having good tech attack bonus. As for its traits, it has 3 of them. First, Fold Step. When Efreet boosts, it can also swap places with an ally in range 3, teleporting both of them. Second, Unbounded. For once per round, Efreet can literally walk off the map and enter from the other side, but you must finish your move fully on one side of the map. And third, Spatial Distortion. Efreet treats all targets outside of its sensor range as having soft cover. In short, Efreet has a whole new dimension of freedom to move for both itself and its allies, but it needs to get close because it could barely see anything far out. Onto its weapon mounts, Efreet has 2, 1 flex and 1 main, along with 7 base system points. As for its core passive, Efreet can, as a protocol, give one of its ally within its sensor range a co-location mark. For once per round as a reaction, if the marked ally is hit by a ranged or melee attack while in your sensor range, you may consume the mark to give them resistance to the triggering attack, but you also take half of the damage your ally takes before armor and reduction. As a part of this reaction, you may also teleport right next to said ally. Only one of the co-location mark could be active at a time, applying it to another ally will remove the previous one. As for its core power, Efreet can activate co-location matrix for omnipresence. After activating it as a protocol, Efreet always counts as adjacent to all allied and enemy mechs within your sensor range for the purpose of movement. Moving into a free space right next to any allied or enemy mech within your sensor range from any other space costs only 1 point of movement and counts as teleportation. What the hell does this mean? It means Efreet could move just about anywhere as long as there's a chain of allies and enemies in its sensor range as it goes. The problem is that since Efreet count as adjacent to everyone including enemies within its sensor range for the purpose of movement, it might immediately loses all remaining movement as soon as there's one in its sensor range due to engagement. This does get a bit confusing though, but it's still a massive movement boost even with this limitation in mind. Combine that with Efreet's core passive, and you got one maneuverable frame that can provide protection to its allies as long as they are within its reach like an overprotective parent. As for the rest of the license, you get Spatial Threader and Slip Gun in the first section. Spatial Threader, Quantum Mechanic Shenanigans. When you bolster an ally, you could give them one of the following additional effects. First, Synchronicity. Until the end of your next turn, your targeted ally copies your exact movement while also ignores engagement and does not provoke reactions. If they walk into an obstacle like a wall however, they can't continue moving until you, obviously, stop moving in the direction of the wall. Second, Disjunction. Your ally now ignores engagement and can move right through enemy unit. This lasts until they make any attack rolls or force any saves. Basically, Spatial Threader is a helpful system that can boost the maneuverability of your allies by making them disobey the laws of reality. Use it well and you can easily carry your team anywhere. Slip Gun. The gun that can edit space. Cone 3, costs 1 heat to fire. It technically doesn't deal any damage, but on attack, all characters within the Cone 3 zone must pass a system save or take 1d6 energy damage and get teleport by 2 spaces in a direction of your choice. Allies take half damage if they fail the save. This weapon also cannot be modified or benefit from core bonuses, mostly because it doesn't deal damage in the usual ways. While its range is rather short, consider the fact that this weapon basically ignores evasion, and could also teleport both anything and any group apart. It has quite an utility use that no other weapon could match. Aside from Efreet frame itself, you get Entanglement Leash and Metafold Shunt in the second section. Entanglement leash, quantum bullshittery. You gain the following invade options. First, interpolate. On hit, the target gets an entanglement mark. On your turn, as long as said enemy is in your line of sight, you may make melee attacks against them like they are in your threat no matter where they are. Only one target could have the mark, applying it to another would remove the previous mark. Second, Mobius anchor. On hit, the target is immobilized and you are jammed. Those effects are basically permanent, until your mech moves without teleportation, either voluntarily or involuntarily. Where interpolate can aid a close combat fighter very well, Mobius anchor can stop one cold in its track. Either way, you will find this system very powerful with a stabby stick. Metafold shunt, quantum dynamic entry. When you brace with 2 heat costs, you can immediately teleport right next to the triggering attacker, even across the map, presumably behind them, and then kick them over, knocking them prone if they fail a system save. This is hilarious as all hell, and something most close combat mechs would appreciate for getting the chance to just appear right besides a very vulnerable unit that don't like to get close at all. In the final section, you get Q-Blade and EBG class NHP. Q-Blade, literally cut space apart. Decent damage, random threat, accurate, but unique and costs 1 system point to mount. At the start of each of your turns, roll 1d3 to determine the weapon's threat until the start of your next turn. On hit, you may teleport with your target, swapping both of your positions. However, there must be sufficient free space for both of you to teleport. The Q-Blade is excellent no matter if you want to reposition your enemy or just cut them, you will always find uses of it in just about any situations. And of course, if you combine it with Entanglement Leash, the result can be quite insane. EBG class NHP, Quantum Hijinks. Your mech gains AI property and a protocol called EBG protocol. Upon activation as a protocol with 3 heat, you create an echo of your mech within a free space in your sensor range. This echo shares all of your stats, systems, weapons, traits, and abilities, but only has 1 health and no heat capacity. You can use any action you want with the echo except this exact protocol by splitting your available moves and actions between you and the echo, but any expended limited uses, fired loading weapon, and any self-heat cost also apply to both you and the echo at once, so no cheating around that. Now this might already sounds complicated but it honestly wasn't. Just think of the echo as an expendable range extender for basically everything you have and you are good to go, but also bear in mind that since self-heat cost apply to both you and the echo at once, that means the echo will immediately disappear upon taking any heat as energy damage. As usual with this kind of system, only 1 echo could exist at a time and activating the system again will make the previous one disappear. The echo will also disappear if you end your turn more than 5 spaces away from it. To sum it up, the echo produced by EBG is an incredibly useful range extender for all weapons, systems, and any other things you have while lessening your exposure to danger. There's so much things you could do with the system that talking about it would take a whole day. So, that's up to you, to find out. As a conclusion, Efreet is a close-range defender that will bend space to both protect and support its allies, or constantly warp enemies out of position to stab them in their face. Its license is practically packed with tools and weapons that let you and your allies to outmaneuver your enemies via copious usage of teleportation and quantum abuse in every way possible. In the end, if you want to be unbearably close to everyone and everything on the field, with good or bad intention, Efreet might just be what you are looking for. Hello there, if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell button. If you really want to support my channel, you could visit my Patreon page, or buy me some coffee, links in the description. Anyway, have a nice day.